It's only been a couple of days since the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, and there are a lot of unanswered questions. But in a briefing with lawmakers by top FBI officials and the head of the Secret Service, some shocking new details were revealed that show this is no ordinary case. I'll go over everything with you guys right now. The shooter's motivation is the #1 question that people want to see answered. And while we know very little, we're starting to fill in the blanks and paint a picture of who this person was. We know that 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks actually registered Republican in September 2022. And that completely destroys the narrative that the right was probably hoping for, that he's some Biden-Harris supporter with Trump derangement syndrome. Instead, they have to deal with one of their own trying to kill Donald Trump. And we also know that he last voted in the midterms. There's a talking point going around that, yes, he was a registered Republican, but he only registered Republican so he could vote against Donald Trump in Pennsylvania's closed primary. That's a pretty cute talking point, but the only problem is we know he did not vote in the primary, so therefore that doesn't make any sense. There's another talking point going around that he donated $15 to a Democratic organization that helped register voters. And while that's true, it appears, according to news reports, he made that donation in January of 2021. And then he registered as a Republican in September of that same year, 8 months later. Now, when you're young, and he was 17 at the time, you tend to change your political affiliation and your interests, so I'm not surprised that somebody would switch from Democrat to Republican when in such a short amount of time. But since his target was Donald Trump, there has to be some sort of political connection. Fox News interviewed a couple of his classmates, and here's what they said about that.
Just a normal, quiet person, nice to anyone who he interacts with, never said anything harshly political like that. So that's why this is such a hard thing to unpack, because no one really knows, no one in the community really knows. We had American politics class. It was half a year, senior year, and he's never made any outward political views. Nothing you could think of. This could have been something that developed in the past 2 years after, came out of high school, but we're not really sure. No one's truly sure.
He just did not like politicians, especially with the choices that we've had. He did not like our politicians. It was especially during 2016. It was Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, all of them. He showed that he disliked all of them. Did not like any of them. So I brought up the fact that I'm Hispanic and, I'm for Trump. And he said, well, you're Hispanic, so shouldn't you hate Trump? And I was like, no, he's great. I mean, he's a great president. And he called me stupid, or insinuated that I was stupid. He's like, well, that's kind of stupid.
Look, being a fan of Trump is definitely stupid, but has nothing to do with you being Hispanic. So far, it appears he didn't have any discernible political beliefs beyond being registered as a Republican and having a general dislike for all politicians, which is nothing unique. A lot of people have this position. But now we're finding out new details after top FBI officials and the head of the Secret Service briefed lawmakers on the status of their investigation. According to these officials, they've been scouring 2 cell phones and a laptop, but they haven't seen any indication of strong political views. So that leaves everybody still wondering, why was Donald Trump targeted? These officials also revealed that there was no evidence found of connection to co-conspirators or foreign actors. But they did reveal that he may have been suffering from depression. And that's because on one of his cell phones, he looked up major depressive disorder. So perhaps this troubled young man was suffering from some mental health struggles. He also may have been planning this for months, because FBI officials revealed that he received multiple packages over the last few months that were labeled hazardous materials. They started looking into his shipping history because they found 3 explosive devices, 2 in his car and 1 at his home. He also had some sort of transmitter on him at the time that he was killed that linked to the explosives in his car. It was a device that's normally used to launch commercial fireworks. So what did this guy have in store? Nobody knows, but hopefully we'll find out soon. However, none of this explains why he would target Donald Trump. But FBI officials revealed to lawmakers that they're starting to see evidence that he was broadly interested in powerful and famous people without any indication of political or ideological patterns. Supposedly, using one of his cell phones, he searched not just for Donald Trump, but also President Biden, Attorney General Merrick Garland, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and even a member of the British royal family. During the briefing, these officials also went further into the timeline of events that happened that day, and it was revealed that they had this guy on their radar about an hour before the shooting occurred. That's because he was walking around suspiciously with a rangefinder, which is a tool that's used to measure distance for shooters, but also for golfers. But that's kind of a weird thing to be walking around with. So they definitely noticed him, but he disappeared, and then they noticed him again 20 minutes before the shooting. But for some reason, they kept losing track of him, even though he's probably the most suspicious person in the place. So even though these top FBI officials and the director of the Secret Service revealed a lot of new details to these lawmakers, you can see that there's still plenty of questions to be answered, and we don't know exactly why he did this or how he pulled it off. But Republicans are not missing an opportunity to attack the Biden administration and use this for politics. Instead of waiting to find out exactly what happened, they are demanding that the head of the Secret Service resign and that the Biden administration be held accountable. The GOP are even resorting to public stunts like Senators Marsha Blackburn and John Barrasso chasing down the director of the Secret Service, berating her with questions at the Republican National Convention. Look at this insane video.
This is exactly what you were doing today on the call.
This was an assassination attempt. You owe the people answers. You owe President Trump answers.
It's so embarrassing seeing sitting senators acting like this. This is the behavior of gadflies who pester people in the halls of Congress, not sitting members of the Senate who can reach out to the Secret Service, the Biden administration, and get all the answers they want. Instead, they want to put on a show for the public in front of all the cameras and act like they're doing something. But instead, they're just being sticks in the mud and trying to cause problems and point fingers when we have a very serious situation here where all of us want to get to the bottom of this. I don't care how you feel about Donald Trump. The fact that he almost lost his life while at a political rally is troubling, and obviously there were some major failures by the Secret Service and the security detail that day. The director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, the woman in that video, has already agreed to testify before the House Oversight Committee on Monday. I'm sure she'll reveal as much information as possible, and lawmakers will have plenty of chances to ask her questions. So this stunt of berating her in public is just for show and for the cameras. And I think it's beneath these senators to do that. But of course, instead of accomplishing actual work, they're going to just do this and try to prove that they are strong soldiers for Donald Trump. It's embarrassing to watch unfold. That being said, I'm glad to see the investigation moving along swiftly, and hopefully we'll get more answers soon. But don't be surprised to see more stunts like this from the GOP. And that's because they didn't get the narrative that they wanted from this story. They would have loved for this man to be a Biden supporter who hated Trump and was scared to death by rhetoric from the left that Trump is going to be a dictator and destroy our democracy, and he felt he had to do something to take him out. But the truth of the matter is, the violent rhetoric is coming from the right. Trump is the one that said that there would be bloodshed if he lost. Trump is the one saying that Democrats are trying to destroy this country. But they want to try to make it seem like we're the problem. Unfortunately for the GOP, they're going to have to reconcile the fact that one of their own, a registered Republican, tried to assassinate Donald Trump, not somebody on the left. And until more information comes to light, that's where things stand.